Welcome to another reflection. We are told not to judge a book by its cover, nor should we make assumptions about people. Like so many other people, I like to root for the underdog, the Cinderellas of the world, and for those least likely to get ahead. That's why the story of King David and his ascent to the throne has always intrigued me. The Lord sent the prophet Samuel on a dangerous mission. The prophet was told to anoint someone as king while King Saul was still very much alive and in power. David's father, Jesse, presented 7 of his sons to Samuel, but surprisingly, the Lord rejected one after the other. Almost as an afterthought, David, the youngest son of Jesse, was brought to Samuel, and the Lord announced, "This is the one." So David, a mere boy and inexperienced, is anointed the new king. In making his choice for the next king of Israel, the Lord didn't look at any of the leaders of Israel. Instead, the Lord turned his gaze on a simple shepherd boy with no pretensions to greatness and no qualifications to be a king, except that the Lord looked at the heart of David. Amazingly, David became the greatest of all the kings of Israel. In some ways, the world has not changed much since the time of King Saul, Samuel, and King David. The human heart still works the same way. And God's favor is not diminished or changed. In spite of everything, God still cares for those on the fringe of society and for those cast aside and mistreated. And the Lord upsets the apple cart of the mighty and powerful. The Lord is still very much at work in our world today. It is better to see with the heart than with our eyes. Here's where another of Jesus' miracles helps us to see as God sees. Jesus grants sight to a man born blind, a man who lived on a fringe of society, a man whom the Pharisees judged to be a sinner and therefore undeserving of healing. The blind man gains his sight, but much more than that, he is given faith, a faith in Jesus that moves him to proclaim, "Lord, I believe," while those in authority are blind to the fact that the Messiah was right in front of them. They questioned the man born blind relentlessly, and his family as well, because they could not admit that God would be so good to a sinner like him. We too are often blind to the fact that God is still at work in our world today. It's easy to look away or walk down the other side of the street when we see a beggar or a homeless person in our path. But a compassionate God does not turn away from needy people. They have a special place in God's heart. We are also tempted to believe that the world is in good shape when it is really not. But thankfully, the Lord has the power to change things. We thank God that He continues to love us. We are loved as much now as young David and the man born blind were. God always loves us with an everlasting love. We are also tempted to think that we do not matter, that what we do doesn't amount to much. After all, most of us are not powerful or wealthy. Few of us exercise much clout or authority. We will not be running for president anytime soon. Most of us just go about our lives quietly. Sadly, we don't even realize how much God loves us. We may not be destined to make it big in a financial world, but God measures greatness far differently than the world does. Who we are does matter to God. The Lord looks at us today as He looked at David and says, "This is the one." Yes, you and I, we are chosen by God to seek justice and equality and freedom for all, to see things as God sees them. God bless you, each and every one, and your families.